This talk is about tables in Excel. These are a really great feature, and I want to show you some examples of how to use them. Now, the slides that go with this presentation are done on a Mac. So what I'm going to do is actually do the examples on the PC, and that way hopefully you can see how it works on both platforms. The concepts are quite similar, but some of the little details are different. So the basic idea here is that instead of using a range, you can convert it into something called a table. We're going to illustrate this by actually loading data from a file into a worksheet and then converting the range into the table. And then we'll look at some of the features that the table has. Okay, so let's start with loading the data. And to do that, we're going to be here on the Data tab. And we want to load from text. So let's click here. And now I'm going to find my text file. So this will be the one for assignment 6. So let's go in here and should be in here. Yeah, data. And we'll use the Windows data. Import. Now here's the import wizard. This is very nice. And what it does is it lets you tell Excel what format your data's in, so it can do the best possible job of putting it into columns and doing what you want with it. So, okay, we're going to start at row 1, and this is going to be delimited. Our data is actually comma delimited. And in fact, it's showing us in this little window here the first part of our data. So we start by saying it's delimited, and it'll let us specify exactly how later. So let's go to the next. And the delimiter is actually a comma. And now we can see how things will turn out using commas as a delimiter. You can choose to treat consecutive delimiters as one. You might want to do that, or you might want to not. If, say, where something's missing, you want to keep the rows lined up and have a 0. Let's see. So that'll take care of this. Next. Okay, the column data format, and I can actually go through and choose formats for any of these columns. So the first column here is actually a date, so let's choose that. And notice I can also choose a column not to import. So if I wanted to, I could click this for a given column, and so on. I don't see a numeric, so I'll just leave those be. Of course, General does convert numeric values to numbers. Now, the Advanced tab is also very interesting here, the Advanced options. You can tell it what the separators are. In case you may be familiar, in Europe, sometimes they do opposite from what we do in the US. And you can also set up a trailing minus. I don't want that. Okay. And let's finish. Okay, now this will let me say where I want to start the data. I want to start it in the upper left-hand column here on this worksheet I'm looking at. So I like the default here. And let's take a look at properties. And here is where you can do what it's calling refresh control. So in other words, this data can be hooked up to the file in such a way that when the file gets more data, it's very easy to upload it and incorporate it into what we're doing. We're not going to do that, but if you want to find out about it, it's a nice feature if you're working with the same file every time and you periodically update it. The same thing can be done with a database. And I'm not showing you an example from a database, but you also have a lot of really nice options to hook up to a database, bring the data over, and have easy ways to update your Excel workbook when the database data changes. Okay, but I'm going to cancel this here, and I'm going to just say OK. And here's my data. All right, now that was just the first step. Now I want to convert this to a table. So what I'm going to do is select all this data. So let's just go down, down, down here. We've got quite a bit, a couple years worth. Okay, so I'm scrolling through. Pretty soon, yeah, that's it. Okay, now I'm going to go to the Insert tab and choose Table. Now it's a little different on the Mac, as you'll see in the slides. Okay. And this says where is the data for the table, and it's filled in the data that I just selected. And my table does have headers, as you can see. Okay. So yes, I do. All right, here's my table. Now, you'll notice that first of all, there's some nice features. It's got sort of alternate colorings, a little darker, a little lighter for alternate rows. That's something you can select in the styles, but it's very nice, especially if you have a big table, to make it easy to scan across the rows. I also have little down arrows next to each of these fields, headers, that lets me manipulate the data according to that column. So for example, let's say instead of having it sorted by date, I wanted to sort it by volume so I can see what the largest volume days are. Well, I can just do this, and here we go. So I had about 14 million was my biggest, and you can see that the volume size is going down here. And it kept, of course, it kept the rows together. Now if I want to go back, I can just sort it oldest to newest by date. There it is back. Let's see about filtering. And here are filters. For example, suppose I want to see every row where the volume is less than some number or greater than some number, or let's just choose top 10. Okay. Here it is. And if I want to, you see how this is different, showing me I have a filter on. And I can cancel the filter. Oops, sorry. Clear the filter if I want to get all my data back. Well, okay, so I think you can see the possibilities here. You can certainly manipulate your table however you want. Look at different values, say for the different columns using an equals filter. Look for where something is greater, less than, etc. So a lot of nice options for doing your data analysis. And data by itself is basically worthless. It's only when you analyze it that it actually becomes useful. So the first thing you have to do is measure the things that you want to keep track of and change. And then you have to actually take those measurements and analyze them. Okay, this is one way to get started doing that. Now, in the next talk, we're going to look at pivot tables, which are even more sophisticated, but this is a really nice place to start. And a lot of times this is all you need. You may not even need to, say, write a program to do some of the work you want to do. And there's a lot more about tables that I haven't showed you, which I would encourage you to look on the Microsoft support site and find out some of the different options you have and the kinds of analysis that can be done.